Hey, I'm Patrick Scott, and today I'm going to be explaining how the engine in a Cessna 172 works. I just so happen to be in the process of building a 1972 172 right there. Engine's exposed, it'll be real easy to go over. Here's the engine. It's a Lycoming 0320. It's carbureted. The carburetor's right there. It's a 4-cylinder, 160 horsepower. Cylinders are horizontally opposed. So since this engine is carbureted, it's pretty simple. That's your carburetor right there. It takes the air from here, so your air intake. Your air goes up into it. You got your fuel coming from your fuel system right here, goes to that hose into the back of it. So your carb, all it does is mix the air and the fuel, and you can control the ratio using your mixture knob on the panel. So you got your mixture knob right there that adjusts how much fuel to air ratio you've got. And you got your throttle right there, which actually determines how much fuel is going, how much of that mixture is actually going to the engine. So your carb takes the air and the air and the fuel, mixes it, sends it up to your cylinders. You got 2 spark plugs, one on the top, one on the bottom. So then you also got your intake into the head and your exhaust. So the way this thing runs is you got a piston in here. It's connected to the crankshaft. So as the crankshaft spins, it pushes and pulls this piston inside of the cylinder, just like that. So when this piston gets pulled back, it sucks in all your mixture through your intake manifold. It sucks it in, and then once it starts going back out again, it compresses it. When it's compressed, your spark plugs fire, it combusts, and then as that piston continues its cycle out, it pushes all the exhaust out of your exhaust through the muffler, and it's gone. So once you've got this thing started up and it's going, it's going to keep running until you take the fuel mixture out of the picture. Because as it's firing, it's keeping the whole system going. And you got your magnetos back here hooked up. They go to the spark plugs, and it'll keep that spark going. See, those aren't electric. They're run off independently, ran off the engine. So as long as you've got this engine going, it's going to keep going unless something goes wrong. Normally you would have your battery sitting right there. Still in the process of building this thing, so it's not there yet. Your battery would be hooked up, obviously, to your starter and also to your alternator. Big part of your electrical system. You lose that, you lose it all. So that's brand new. And that's hooked up by a belt to everything else, to the crankshaft. So when this spins, it generates power, which will be transferred to the battery and to the rest of the electrical system to keep everything running smooth. Since these engines are air-cooled, this baffle around here is really important. When your cowling goes over all this kind of keeps it airtight. So when your air, there's 2 big holes right here, your air will get pushed in, and it kind of keeps it where it's cool in the engine. So that's a really important thing. Cool all these fins on these cylinder heads. As the air goes through there, the heat from the cylinder travels up to these fins, and as the air flows through these fins, basically sucks that heat out. You know, it cools the fins down, sucking that heat out. That's a really big deal, because if this thing's not cooling down, you won't be flying very long. Hopefully that covered just about everything on how these things operate. Hopefully this thing will be flying pretty soon. It's not too far away. Look like that pretty soon. That's a 206 we just finished up. And J3 Cub. But yeah, that's it.